As I was going through the 33,000 photos my dad had on his Flickr, I know, are any of you surprised? I found a lot of pictures of my mom. The picture that LCA has shared really captures her as a teacher. Our family pictures show her as a wife, mother, sister, daughter, cousin, adult, child, young adult, and more. But I found one that is my mom as I saw her every Saturday morning when I got up to cuddle with Dad on the couch and watch TV with them both. If you must know, for the last couple years, the shows have been Million Dollar Listing and Below Deck Mediterranean, both of which reality TV shows. The picture is her sitting in her chair, glasses on, Pawtuckaway sweatshirt donned, coffee pot sitting on the coffee table, book in hand, and looking at my dad, presumably, with an unguarded look that says, "What?" Many of you knew my mother as a teacher, and many of you called her a second mother in your reflections on her life. That made me kind of possessive at first, I'm not gonna lie. She is my mom, after all. But as more and more messages poured in, I became more and more thankful that she was so able to fully pour herself into every student she had, and still pour so much into me, into Lars, into Ani, into Dad. She had a passion for teaching, which I saw as a student in her classroom, where in order to get her attention, I waved my hand rather than saying Mrs. Johnson or Mom, both of which were equally bad for middle school me, and which I saw as a budding secondary education English major who sat in the back of her classroom last year. After learning about pedagogy and how tough teaching is, I was and still am astonished at how effortless she made it look. She had so many other daughters and sons that she adopted into the LCA family or into our family, but Miss Lori Beth Vanderclay Johnson was nothing more and nothing less than my mom, my phenomenal mother. She was a homebody who loved to take her time and read young adult novels, watch reality TV, eat cake, as you all have heard, and buy things and books on Amazon. She delighted in the moments where she got to stay in her pajamas and catch up on the relaxing she never did during the week because she, and the rest of us children, went into LCA at the ripe hour of 6:30 a.m. and stayed until 5:30 p.m. or later every day. She was always trying to hone her craft of teaching, whether that meant diving into standards-based grading or attending a professional development conference while sitting in Pawtuckaway State Park. She had high standards for her students and higher standards for herself, continually reworking and renewing her teaching despite all the work she had already put in over the years. She loved her job. Everyone here can attest to that. But she loved the moments that she spent at home, or laughing with the Vanderclays on Christmas Day, or beating us all at Settlers of Catan, except for maybe Lars, or teaching the newlyweds at Park Street Church how to have a marriage that might rival her PFL, partner for life, relationship with my dad, might. She was most fully herself when she was in front of 20, 11, or 12-year-olds, or when she was laying in a rope hammock at Pawtuckaway, napping or reading the latest Gary Schmidt novel. I always forgot that people actually went to other places in the United States with their family for vacation because mine never wanted to go more than an hour to the woods in New Hampshire. I used to think that our family must not have been super religious despite getting dragged to church every single Sunday morning because we didn't talk too much about God or faith in the day-to-day. But as I matured in my faith more, I realized how much Dad and Mom exemplified what Paul instructed believers to do in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 11 and 12, which was, quote, "To make it your ambition to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business and work with your hands, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders." My mom infused her teaching and her home with so much love, you'd have to be blind not to see God in her. She's the Christian teacher who I want to be, one that shows through their exploration in their teaching how God reigns over every square inch, and one that challenges her students to think deeply, act justly, and live wholeheartedly. My mom may not be here on this earth anymore, but if she was, she would want to be in her favorite chair in classroom 206 or looking at the sunset on Site 42. And she got to be in those places throughout her life, and now she's in an even more fulfilling and completing place. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do without her coming out to Grand Rapids for the 30th anniversary of the Festival of Faith and Writing next year, or giving me tips on how to do an amazing sample lesson as I graduate and turn my focus to a teaching career. I know she's going to find her way into every story I tell, and every lesson I teach, and every student I meet. In looking through Lizzie Brighton the Buckminster Boy, a novel by Gary Schmidt that she always teaches to her sixth graders, Lars and Ani found a passage that I think speaks to where I am with Mom's passing. Quote, "The world turns and the world spins. The tide runs in and the tide runs out. And there is nothing more in the world more beautiful and more wonderful in all its evolved forms than two souls who look at each other straight on. And there is nothing more woeful and soul-saddening than when they are parted. Turner knew that everything in the world rejoices in the touch, and everything in the world laments in its losing." A couple weeks ago at LCA was Broadway Follies, which is a production put on by the LCA Chamber Singers every November, where students sing solos, duets, and group songs from every Broadway musical under the sun. Knowing that my dad and Anna's dad are big weepers, we decided to sing Forgood from Wicked and surprise them for the first ever Broadway Follies. This year, Harley Rusk and Katie Norman sang the same song for me and brought up all these sweet memories again. As I scoured Facebook for the recording of Anna and I's rendition after the performance ended, Mom said, "Oh, I have the video. I'll upload it." She loved that her two daughters sang that song. Plus, she always loved supporting all her students outside the classroom. In order to honor my mom's love for her students and for this song, where two souls look at each other straight on, Harley and Katie have graciously agreed to reprise their performance.